These morning shows on a Friday. Wow, unbelievable stuff. On my day off, it's nice of Arsenal to kind of get their business done when I'm not working, so I can cover these things in the morning. It's refreshing. It's nice, and I do appreciate it, as I do appreciate you guys tuning in for today's video to talk about Martin Odegaard, because if you may have seen on your socials this morning, the right places are making the right noises about this deal. And whilst there are still a lot more kind of reliable sources that we can wait upon to kind of confirm if this is the case, how I feel, and from kind of looking at the sources that are reporting this in the area that this is in, as a player, as the club, this it makes a lot of sense that this is quite a good one to bank on. I may be eating my words in a few hours' time, and we'll be doing the Let's Talk Arsenal show at 5 o'clock today, as always on a Friday, where you may see me eat my words. But what I would say is that the right places are making the right noises about this deal, and so I thought it would be the right time to have a discussion about it. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, the show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, which in this case is very much a Norwegian special, talking about Martin Odegaard. Now, it was just hours ago that I released a video yesterday intermittently talking to John Driscoll with his connection. But if you want to get kind of the tactical breakdown of Odegaard and find out more about what he's like from a Spanish expert's perspective, click on the previous video that we did yesterday afternoon, and that'll give you lots of information about Odegaard. This show is kind of talking about the reaction to the deal itself, what it means. Is it a good deal? Is it good for Arsenal? Is the main thing. And the bottom line to that question is a very resounding yes, because there's a number of reasons why this is a good deal for Arsenal. One, the fact that it's a loan situation. And Arsenal so far have really only kind of got Emile Smith-Rowe as their option, as the player that they can play in that kind of central attacking midfield role. And knowing that Arsenal need cover in that position, we've got a player, if this turns out to be a case, in Odegaard, that covers that role perfectly, that last season at Real Sociedad did exceptionally well. Really good vision, great passing, decent intensity as well. I saw a few people criticizing kind of his work rate and work ethic. Real Madrid aren't, for me, a high pressing team. That's not how I perceive Real Madrid, to be honest. And coming to Arsenal, who are under Arteta, who wants his players to press. It doesn't always happen, but he certainly wants his players to press. I don't feel like they would have looked at him as a profile if they didn't believe that he has that quality, because he has shown that quality, and he did put a lot of work in during his time at La Real last season. I think it's a good situation. Now, the very easy and not lazy, kind of cautious way to approach this deal is to think back to is it a year ago? No, it was 2 years ago, wasn't it, when we signed the very famous Denis Suarez. Now, it's important that we touch on that and kind of compare that situation to this. Denis Suarez was at was at Barcelona after some kind of really odd loan periods. He spent time at Seville, where he did really quite well. He did all right. He was at Villarreal. Obviously, he went through the Man City side of things as well. He went to Barcelona, didn't really play, didn't really have too much of an impact on games, and then came to us. Now, what I don't think you can say about Denis Suarez is that he was awful when he came to Arsenal. And the reason why you can't say he was awful when he came to Arsenal is because he didn't play. He didn't play at all. He was injured for a lot of the time that he was here. And it was almost impossible to kind of evaluate that loan deal because of what he did. Now, if you followed Denis Suarez, which I'm sure not many people would have done, since he left and went back to Barcelona, he was sold to Celta Vigo and did very, very well, and kind of was kind of a bright spark amongst a very poor Celta Vigo side, which under their new coach is perfect, because they are just hilarious to watch and a great team to watch in Celta Vigo this season. But why this is different to that is that Odegaard, for one, is a better player already at a younger age than what Denis Suarez is. He showed that last season on loan at Anoeta, and he is now in a position whereby he wants to progress. He's hungry to progress. He wants to improve. He wants to play, which is a question that will be answered about him coming to Arsenal, is how much he will play. Because whilst Emile Smith Rowe is in this rich vein of form, does Odegaard start over Smith Rowe? Now, the answer to that question, I don't think necessarily you should worry about if it's either yes or no, because if it is either of those options, the positive for Arsenal is that they've got depth. Arsenal have needed depth in the position because we're going into the Europa League in February. We will have heavy amount of fixture congestion in the Premier League, which will need rotation. And just relying on Smith Rowe would have been utterly catastrophically stupid. In my view, it would have really been for 6 months. And I don't believe there's an option on the loan deal. I don't think that's something that I think that's something that's made Arsenal kind of a more attractive option for Real Madrid, is that Real Sociedad wanted there to be an option to buy. And I don't think that is. If there is one, I think it's better for Arsenal. Great. If we can add an option into it, great. I think that's a good thing, because if he does well over the 6 months and shows that he kind of can adapt to the Premier League, great. And speaking of kind of adapting to the Premier League, that has been something that's been put across on social media, is that he's got 6 months to adapt. Is he going to be able to transition from the Premier League to Arsenal in that space of time? What you should basically react to that news is, you can look at it two ways. You can either go, well, one point of view is, what's the point in bringing anyone in? Because if you've only got 6 months to transition, what's the point? And the answer to the question, what's the point, is that we desperately need cover, is that we need someone there, because we can't rely on the only other player that could possibly play there more naturally, and that's Joe Willock. You could play Saka, you could play Willian, but they're unorthodox picks for that number 10 position. Joe Willock's the closest you'll get to playing someone in that role, and he's not good enough. So what it tells me is that it's worth doing for that reason, just to provide us with that cover. It is better than Arsenal not bringing in any kind of backup to Smith Rowe at all. But I think saying that kind of downplays the quality that Odegaard does have. It's a risky signing still. This signing does not come without risk. He's a player that, since returning to Real Madrid, has not been able to imprint the form that he showed at Real Sociedad, but he has not had too many opportunities at Real Madrid this season to be able to do that. And Real Madrid this season have been they are very, very strange this season. Real Madrid can have really good games and really, really poor games. The other side to this deal is that the other options that Arsenal had were players like Isco and players like Christian. I can't put into words how happy that those two deals did not happen. Because if you want to talk about what a player can do over 6 months at the end of a season, if you want to hedge your bets on players like Isco or Eriksen coming in and having an impact in the next 6 months, that is a much longer shot than a hungry young player like Odegaard. Isco has barely played over the last 2 years for Real Madrid, has not been getting anywhere near enough minutes for him to be match sharp at the top of his game and anywhere near recapturing the form that saw him earn that move from Malaga and earn that place at the start of his Real Madrid career. Christian Eriksen is very similar. Towards the end of his Spurs career, things weren't going amazingly well, has moved to Inter Milan and has not been able to establish a first-team position in the Inter Milan team and has declined since. You've also got the situation whereby those two players' wages are incredibly high. And once you move on Ozil and you move that money away, if that is the case, we're still kind of waiting to get the more details surrounding that financial side of Ozil's deal. But there is no point wasting all of that money on a player like Isco or Eriksen for 6 months when there's no guarantee of them doing anything. It's pointless. Whereas Odegaard, you've got a player that played the entirety of last season at the highest level that he is capable of. He played brilliantly last season. has come back and has not been able to get regular minutes at Real Madrid, which for a player like Odegaard is not surprising in the slightest with the amount of players that they've got there. And also kind of Real Madrid's reluctance to play a number 10. They haven't historically liked playing with a number 10. And that's why, ever since Ozil moved on, they kind of sat with Kroos and Modric and Casemiro as their kind of midfield three, none of which are number 10s. Casemiro's your deepest of the three, and Kroos and Modric play as kind of number 8s in front of him. That's their best midfield. And that's why Isco kind of really struggled to get regular game time at Real Madrid, because there wasn't really a place for him. So if you're ever looking at Odegaard at Real Madrid this season, it's not something that you can really use as a legitimate argument to measure his quality, because he's a position of a player they don't particularly like to use. And if you're going to look at him as a player, you should look towards last season, how he was at Real Sociedad. Let's go into the chat box and get some of your thoughts and comments regarding this. I'd like to get your reaction and your thoughts around the Odegaard deal. How are you feeling about it? Are you positive about it? Do you think this is a good thing for Arsenal? Are you worried? If you are worried, please explain your worries instead of just going, I don't want him. Tell me why. Explain your reasons as to why you think it's not a good deal. And if you do want him, do the same. Tell me why you think that this is a good deal for Arsenal. Ivan King says, Odegaard short-term deal until summer. We can go big on this position. We free up so much salary. Summer will be very, very fun to watch. Like last season with the Partey deal, you never know where you really could go big. And that's another side of this, is that Arsenal aren't committing to anything with this signing. If Arsenal were to bring someone in permanently in January, it would be highly, highly unlikely to have been their number one target for this creative midfield position. Whether or not Emile Smith-Rowe is going to be the next big thing, for me, that is secondary to the point where Arsenal still need to bring in someone in this position. It's so naive, in my view, to not bring someone in this role, because you can't. In the climate that we're in, if ESR was to go into self-isolation, you're without him for 3 games, you're back to square one regarding creativity. Bring someone in so that they can play that role. And for me, that is, it's just a priority at Arsenal. The only higher priority I've got at Arsenal beyond that creative midfield position is the centre midfield role next to Partey and the goalkeeping position, which I don't really see the centre midfield role being replaced until the summer, because we've got cover there. Goalkeeper I see as being the only other position in January that Arsenal will probably pursue with a deal, be it a Raya, be it a Freeman, Freddie Woodman, that type of deal for a goalkeeper. Tom says it's good, as we can't only rely on ESR because of the risk to injury or the simple loss of form. There's no good permanent deal to be made in January, so a loan is good. Bulgarian Gunnar says definitely worried, similar to the Suarez loan. Young, barely played, new league. It's a big risk. No. Any deal's a big risk. I don't agree with you, the barely played option. The barely played option is just over the last 6 months. It's not the case of like Isco or Ericsson, where it's over the last 12 months or longer. This is a player that played week in, week out for Real Sociedad up until the final weeks of his time there. And until that point, he was brought back by Real Madrid because he played so well. The original plan was for Odegaard to go back on loan to Sociedad for this whole season. But he impressed so much at La Real last season that Real Madrid kept him when they shouldn't have done. The smart thing would have been to send him back on another loan for a player that you barely even have a position for, because you don't really play with a number 10. The smart thing would have been to send him back on loan to Sociedad for this season. They didn't do that, and lo and behold, they didn't have a position for him really this season. So no, you shouldn't be worried about that, because he played exceptionally well on a consistent basis last season, and will be coming back absolutely hungry to get more minutes wherever he ends up. David says, hi, Tom. First of all, credit to you for an early start. Secondly, it's a great deal. Odegaard is young, hungry, and definitely something to prove. This is the way Arsenal will go into future transfers. And if it is the way that Arsenal go into future transfers, I don't think that in terms of a loan, but looking at kind of the younger age profile of players is definitely something I want Arsenal to be looking at in a lot more detail for the future. Jashar says, morning, Tom. Has the deal been confirmed? The deal is not yet confirmed. The deal is kind of in a situation whereby if you look on your socials and you see the people that are tweeting and are putting out this information, they are people that have been hit and miss in the past, but the times that they've been hit, It is definitely in this area, as in La Liga, as in Real Sociedad specifically. That is why there is a high level of confidence about this story, is because the people that are talking about it are typically reliable in this specific area of Real Sociedad, La Liga, etc. That's why. And that's why I felt the need to do a pod, because I kind of trust that view. I'm doing the Let's Talk Arsenal show later today at 5 o'clock UK time. It might be very different by 5. We'll wait and see. And you might see a very different Tom by 5, but we'll have a look. Julian says, I'm Norwegian and I've seen Martin closely ever since he was 15. He is a great player which can create something out of nothing, also adding goals and end product to his game lately. Great signing. James Maddison is a player that's needed to add goals to his game, and he's kind of doing that of late. And I see Odegaard as kind of the younger Norwegian kind of version of a Maddison, a player that's got a hell of a lot of creativity, loves a good pass, great vision, but needs to add more goals and assists to his game. He got 8, I believe, last season. I will double check that for you. In La Liga and the Copa del Rey. Let me just check it for you, so I'm giving you the right information. Last season for Real Sociedad, La Real, playing at Anoeta in the Basque Country, he got blah, 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 blah. 7 goals, 9 assists across La Liga and the Copa del Rey. So in 36 games, he contributed to 16 goals, playing just under 3,000 minutes as mainly a starter. It was only towards the end of the season where his minutes got less, and that was only because he was being brought off more often. But he established himself straight away at the start of the season and did really well. So that's a positive, definitely. The fact that he's adding that amount of goal contributions at the young age at Real Sociedad pushed them up to the point where he helped them get European qualification last season. Really good, and not something that I'd be too concerned about. Hamodi says, do you think we'll hear rumours about a second goalkeeper and a left back, or will the number 10 be sufficient for this window? I said that kind of signings were a bit of a bonus this window because of how turbulent the January window is, and the fact that you can't really get the signings that you want to get in January. And I kind of saw this window as very much more Arsenal moving players out than bringing players in. If Arsenal don't get in a backup goalkeeper, I think that's a big risk, a very big risk. If Leno has an injury or has to self-isolate and you have to rely on Runnison, teams are going to be really aware of that. And so I look at this situation as a bonus, bringing in this kind of player, but a necessary bonus in a way. It's kind of a weird middle ground between the two. K-Man says, Maddison is a high bar. It is a high bar. And I'm purely talking about I'm not talking about them being similar players in terms of quality, because Odegaard is not on the same level as Maddison. What I'm saying is that Maddison was a player that needed to add goals to his game and more of an output in that area. And that's exactly the same kind of advice and coaching and tactical tweak that Odegaard needed to add to his game, which he managed last season. And he's on that track. That's the point that we were talking about, not about him being as good as Maddison. That is not what I was saying. Ronit says, Odegaard didn't press enough for Zidane, which is why he doesn't fancy him in his team. I saw a tweet about that. In one game, there was a match. I can't remember who it was against, but Zidane was seen like encouraging Odegaard to press. Now, we covered this earlier. Real Madrid are not a high pressing team at the moment. And that is not how I would define Real Madrid. They're not like they just don't come across to me as a side that are high pressing right now. Are kind of just playing their own way and they're doing their business when on the ball. And the reason why they've lost quite a few stupid games is because of their lack of high press. Now, Arteta is a coach that wants players to press. Edu knows what Arteta wants. And last season, again, referencing Real Sociedad, he pressed. He worked hard. And you can listen to the podcast yesterday we did with John Driscoll, who I asked specifically about his work rate, and he confirmed, yes, he does have the work rate. He does put the effort in. When he's hungry, he plays to the top of his game. And he will be hungry to get minutes and play to the top of his game. Ross says, I'm only liking this deal if there is an option to buy it. You shouldn't think that way, because a loan anyway is good for Arsenal just for cover, and then we can pursue our number one target in the summer. I don't expect there to be an option in this deal. I'd be very surprised if there was one. And that's the reason why we've kind of beaten Real Sociedad to the punch, is because they wanted an option and we were willing to loan him without one. Do we know if he can take a corner, says Matt? I actually have not seen him do that. So I'm not sure if he was the corner taker for Real Sociedad last season. I'm thinking back of the other players that were there. Oyarzábal, I think Oyarzábal was taking their penalties, was taking their corners. So, yeah, I'm not sure he was the corner taker, but maybe it's something that he's got in his repertoire that can add, because we need that for sure. Jabalani says, Tom, you don't come across as excited today. You okay? Do you like him or not? Mate, it's 8:20 in the morning, mate. I'm sorry that I'm not enthusiastic as I might usually be, but it's really early. I haven't even had my juice. I haven't had my cereal. It's too early for me to be ecstatic. Join me at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and you'll see a much more awake Tom. Clive just woke up. Have we got him for sure? Clive, if you look on your socials, which I know you follow plenty of people, you will see that the people that are making the noises about this deal are in the right areas, are of the right backgrounds. That they're not people that I would say are 100% spot on everything. But when it comes to this specific league, this specific clubs that are involved, that's where you should take confidence from. And that's why I've been willing to do the show on it, effectively. Drago says, Tom is trained from Feinberg's Express last night. It was an incredibly hilarious show. If you've not checked out the Gooners pod last night, it was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it a lot. I don't drink coffee by the Buffalo, but I will have a tea in the classic British stereotype. I will have a tea this morning. Yes, Vance says, thoughts on rumours about Ryan Bertrand as backup. His contract is expiring. It makes sense, doesn't it? That's not a bad sign to make on a free deal. Done very well at Southampton. Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Homegrown player. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Jasmeet says, the only concern for me would be how he adapts physically to the league, but creativity is his thing. Saw a chart where he has similar stats to Messi in terms of passing into the box. Yeah, he was one of the most creative players last season, just behind, he was only behind Messi of passes into the box or something ridiculous like that. Last season, he was absolutely crazy. Loki says, can you talk about Liverpool losing last night? I completely forgot about that this morning. Yeah, Jesus. We were laughed at for Burnley. Unbelievable scenes. The hypocrisy, the irony. I love it. Abhinav says, would you want him on permanent if he performs at Arsenal, or still go for a Buendia? Again, it completely depends on how he performs. It completely depends on how and what happens. I wouldn't want to commit to saying anything right now about Odegaard in the long term, if it even happens. So ask me again at the end of the season, and then I'll have a much more kind of clearer view on that. A buddy says, Arsenal fan from Norway here. Odegaard is a really good player. I believe he would be a perfect Ozil replacement. He is better than all other cams we have been linked to, other than Soboslai, that you're forgetting. But I am slightly biased. Matt Thornton says, do you think the signing of Odegaard helps Arteta change to his favourite 4-3-3? I think you mean. Yes, you do. You've corrected yourself. I think already we were playing the 4-3-3 with Emile Smith-Rowe, and I think really the 4-2-3-1 is more of what he wants to do, playing at 4. I think he sees the 4-3-3 as a 4-2-3-1 with the pivot and then the number 8 or an advanced 8 with the 10 in front. So we're already kind of there. That's what's nice about this. He's not helping us to turn us into something different. Odegaard adds to what we already have, which is important to Arsenal. You don't want to add someone to the team that's not going to slot into a position that we don't have. And we do have that position. And we have that position on availability in terms of rotation, in terms of versatility for his right wing escapades. Is that a word? I think so. So I think it works. I think it fits with what we have. Claudius says, would you take Michael Elise as a rotation option in this? I'd take him anyway. He's great. Fantastic young player at Reading. Yeah, smash that. Get it straight in. Porky Pork says, 6-month loan deal from another league is always so risky, but it's seeming like a must to give the young guns a rest and hope it adapts. Exactly. It makes no sense to not bring anyone in this window. Again, I'll keep reiterating this point. It makes no sense for me and for Arsenal not to bring any kind of cover in or any kind of competition in at all. Is he? Omri's not crooked. I'll tell you what it is. It's this. He's not crooked. It's there you go. You see, it's the way I sit. That's why. He's not crooked whatsoever. It's just because of the angle of the camera. Ivan King says, Tom, for you, if come the summer we go for expensive number 10s, who would you go for your personal choice? Again, it depends on kind of the rest of the season. But, I mean, I'm a big fan of Buendia. I think that he is still underrated by a lot of people about what he has done for Norwich, what he did in the Premier League last season. And I'm underrated in the fact that I'd rather have him over a player like Julian Brandt. From doing hella amount of research on Julian Brandt when we were linked to him at the start of the window, and watching a lot of Buendia and comparing the two and seeing the English experience as well as a big added factor. And the fact that Brandt, since moving from Leverkusen to Dortmund, has not been able to recapture that same level of form in the same league for an arguably bigger team concerned me. And Buendia has kind of only gone on an upward trajectory. So that, for me, is enough for Buendia. But I'd like to see us kind of target more English-based talents, as Buendia at Norwich, Basuma at Brighton, these types. That's why I would rather do that. John Wayne says, Odegaard is the perfect player to penetrate a low block. Really smart move by Arteta and co. Even if he struggles in the Prem, we can at least hope to make a decent run in the Europa League. Again, it's all about having depth. It's all about having options, because as soon as Emile Smith-Rowe, if you take Emile Smith-Rowe out of Arsenal's team, you are worried as an Arsenal fan again. You're worried because there's no one else that's really going to add that same creativity in the middle without bringing someone in. So that's kind of where you should be at. Bulgarian Guna says, surely Nelson should ask for a loan. Surely he should. I don't expect him to, but you're 100% right, Drago. He should 100% ask for a loan. Jasmeet says, believed a Buendia would have been ahead in the wish list, but it's not just sensible for Norwich to let him go for 50 to 60 million at this stage, because they're on the way to get 100 million. Exactly. Norwich haven't needed to sell this window. They need Buendia to get promoted. They need him to go up, and they have no need to sell, and Buendia doesn't need to move, because in the summer, whether they get promoted or not, he's most likely going to get a move. So why not stay there for the rest of the season, smash the season for whatever you're on a great run of form, and then move on in the summer, whether you get promoted or not. It makes so much more sense doing it like that. Ekal says, Sabitzer for a cam or someone brilliant from South America. Sabitzer, the thing about Sabitzer is, the thing about him is, his position is versatile to the point where he can play at 10, he can play at wide, he can even play as an 8. And I like him, but there's just, when you just have a weird feeling about some players, which I'm sure some people have about Odegaard, I just have a bit of a feeling about Sabitzer. And this is coming from someone that loves Rebel Salzburg, where he spent some time on loan, and I saw him on loan at Rebel Salzburg. But it's just something. And I'm not quite sure what that something is about Sabitzer, but yeah, I'm just not sure. I don't know. I just have one of those feelings. I can't explain it, and I don't need to. Buddy says Odegaard is a better sign than Szoboszlai, and if we purchased his buyout clause, RB Salzburg would have gotten 25% sell-on clause. Only time will tell how good he is, and I would have done that anyway. I would have rather had Szoboszlai, and you know that. I don't need to go into that anymore. William Barker says, do you reckon Odegaard will be able to adjust to the physicality of the EPL? I think it will take some time, and have reservations about his ability to contribute right away. Again, William, this comes down to any signing that Arsenal ever make from any league. A technical player coming from La Liga, and I've seen people discuss this on social media and say that it doesn't work. Santi is an incredibly technical player who has the technical skill and dribbling ability to beat players who are much bigger and much more physical than him, the likes of David Silva, Juan Mata, all of these guys that came from La Liga. Completely different league in terms of physicality, but their technical ability on the ball is what enabled them to succeed. Now, Odegaard, does he have the same level of technical ability as those three aforementioned players in their prime? Of course he doesn't right now. Does he have the potential to have the technical ability of those players? 100%. And so that's why you shouldn't let that factor turn you away from this signing, because it's a make or break moment for him. If he comes to the Premier League and smashes it, then great. If it doesn't work out, we've got Emile Smith-Rowe. That's what's so good about this deal, is that we've already got the player at the club that you'd think is the long-term future. This is a loan. It's not like we're buying Odegaard. It's not like we have to assess it in that kind of parameter. We're not buying him. It's just a loan. So be open to it, people. Like that's what I struggle with so much. I don't understand the animosity from some towards this deal, because it's just a loan. It's no risk for Arsenal, because it's just depth for us. It's a cheap deal. It's not going to cost us loads because the wages aren't that high. I don't expect the signing on fee or the loan fee to be that high. It's a no-brainer. Like you got a young player that's coming in that's hungry, that's done really well last season. Him or no one, and I mean that in like the most ridiculous way, because the difference between bringing him in and comparing to not bringing anyone is stupid in itself. But him or no one, it's stupid to even consider not bringing him in during this window. Is it possible to unblock someone? No, I don't unblock anyone on the channel, because there's a reason why they would have been blocked. So if they want to start up a new account and join us, that's fine. But I don't. If the reason why they would have been blocked for Pello is because they did something that we don't find is in keeping with the community that we've built up, which is of supporting each other and listening to other people's opinions. Abodi says, do you think Freddie Woodman would be a good signing for Arsenal? He has conceded 12 goals and have 14 clean sheets in the Championship. We will also get him on a free in the summer. Yeah, I think Arsenal should move for him now. Get him in. He's a good backup. He's done well this season at Swansea on loan from Newcastle. And he's better than Runnison, and he adds the homegrown quota as well. Do it. Move it. Get it in. Simple. It's a win-win situation, says Michael Velasquez regarding Odegaard. Exactly. Saeed says how he will fit into the team is he will be a backup, or will he start with Emile Smith-Rowe? What the good thing about him is he can do both. He can do both, and because he can play as a right-hand-sided player and give Saka a rest, or if Tierney gets injured, you can move Saka to left back and put Odegaard on the right-hand side. That's what gives you so much versatility about this deal. It covers kind of two positions. It covers multiple positions in a weird way, because we know that Bukayo Saka, whilst we should categorically be playing him in the front three, if Arsenal can't get a left back up in, it's so much better to play Saka in Tierney's position, maybe as a wing back, maybe as in the back four, and then move Odegaard to the right hand side, or you can play Pepe or whatever. But we need a left footer on that left hand side, and Saka is that. So it's good for versatility. It's good for rotation. It's good for depth. It just makes a lot of sense in a lot of areas. Lars says, is it official? No, we're still waiting for the concrete info on this. But as I said at the start of the video, where you're hearing kind of the information from, it's positive right now. I'm just going to have a quick look on my Twitter, just in case some chaos news has happened in the last few minutes. Yeah. So it's still Dario in the Basque Country that are reporting it. Obviously, was being mainly linked with a move to Real Sociedad originally to go back there, but seemingly it has turned in the last few days, which is great. JMS says, have I seen Terry from the Football Terrace's opinion on this deal? No, I haven't, JMS. I dread to think what Terry's saying about it, to be honest. He is the clickbait king. So he's the one that said that Man United shouldn't have gone for Erling Haaland. So if you want Terry's opinion on a player, he didn't want Erling Haaland at Man United, which is absolutely crazy. Yashvanth says, Arteta and Edu have kept their promise in clearing out the deadwood. Also has delivered a Copa America back to Brazil by appointing the title as Tite as the coach, which everyone was opposed to. Edu, if this deal gets done and Arsenal getting a backup keeper and they move on all the people that have needed to be moved on, deserves so much credit. And this is coming from someone that was really criticizing him at the start of the window, and you can go back and watch those videos, because it didn't look like Arsenal were going to have a good January. If Arsenal pull off an Odegaard loan signing, if they can get in a goalkeeper as backup, if we can bring in someone else as even a further back, you start wanting too much, very greedy. And you've moved on the likes of Ozil, who we never thought it would be possible to move on this window. You've got Saliba, his loan. whether the handling of that situation is obviously awful, but to get him his loan now, get Sead Kolasinac's wages off the wage bill, terminate Socrates' contract, which is something that we asked for. We sat here on the channel and said, we need to just terminate these guys' contracts and move on. I don't care about selling them. Just terminate them, move on, get them out of the club. We're doing that. Mustafi's kind of the last one, but maybe we don't have enough depth at centre-back to allow Mustafi to leave for the last 6 months, and then we can move him on in the summer because his contract expires. So fair play, ado. Fair play, ado. The Pello says, Tom, what do you think of Yusuf Demir? Really good young prospect at Rapid Vienna. Is he ready for Arsenal? If you get him on a cheap deal, put him into the under-23s, but I think he's of the level that he needs to be playing senior football, and I don't think he gets into Arsenal's starting lineup right now. Doug says, we are financially getting killed on moving on this Deadwood for a big loss. We've got no choice, Doug. We've got no choice with these players. We have been put into this situation by previously stupid contract decisions made by people that are no longer here. So we don't have much choice, Doug, I'm afraid. And this is what we have to do to move on to the next stage, which is being much smarter with our decision making. There's going to be a couple of years, this year, next year, where some decisions that are going to be had to be made are going to look a bit silly, but they're basically being made because of the stupid decisions of the prior agenda, being previously Wenger, and then Raul Sanllehi coming in and utterly ruining Arsenal Football Club. So, yeah, that's what we're still clearing up from, unfortunately. Jasmeet says, refreshing the attacking midfield and a Basuma Partey partner-type player in the summer would be ideal. It would, and congrats on the engagement. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, Basuma for me, it's either him or Mwepu from Red Bull Salzburg is just two players that are just perfect for me. Absolutely perfect. Blige says, Tom, what do you think on getting someone like a Sergio Romero? I doubt that United would want to loan us and give us that backup. I doubt they would. But a 6-month loan of a player of Romero's level is fine for me for 6 months to then target someone like a David Raya in the summer. Abodi says, question, who would be our right back to replace Bellerin if he leaves with PSG? Is there any right backs who could finally make the position a great one? Should the right back be a Tierney type or a defensive one? I don't think you necessarily have to go one way or the other. I think obviously you want one that's more kind of all-rounded. I really like Jeremy Frimpong at Celtic. I like Christiansen at Red Bull Salzburg. Who else is there that I like? There's one in Germany that I'm trying to remember who it is, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But I like Liner at Gladbach. So yeah, there's some names for you. But yeah, I think that Christensen or Jeremy Frimpong at Celtic are really good options. So, but I don't really see Bellerin going at the moment. I think Bellerin will stay. Cedric is not the answer. David Morsley says, can Odegaard play in a 2 with Partey in a 2? No. No, he's not. No, David. You wouldn't play him next to Partey. I think that would be incredibly offensive in a tactical nature, and it would leave you very exposed. So, yeah. Capello says, well, Willian is another stupid decision. Yeah, again, Raul. If you want to find someone to talk about Willian, then go look, do the research and find out how Raul was involved in that deal. Lee Deaton says, I don't think signings were important in this window. Clearing the deadwood was important for the team morale, and players can become toxic when not playing. Exactly. You're spot on, Lee. And that's why we should look at this as a bonus, if anything, because we've moved the players on. We're moving the players on, and that's really great in this window. So getting an Odegaard in on top of moving those players off is fantastic news. Abhinav says, Cancelo has been exceptional on the left side while being a right footer. So can Cedric fill in there? Obviously, comparing players is risky. Cancelo's done very well because he's a really good player. Cedric is nowhere near the level of Cancelo, in my view. And tactically, we were kind of really limited by having a right footer on the left-hand side. When we played against Crystal Palace, if you remember, Maitland-Niles playing there, really did not tactically help us on that side. Wasn't also helped by having a right-footed left centre-back and David Luiz playing there too. That didn't help either. So a left-back needs to be a left footer for our Arteta system. It's without any question in my mind. Claudia says, any suggestions for a backup keeper? I mean, I like Woodman from looking at his profile, from doing a bit more research on him for some articles and some videos that will probably happen if we get closer to him. I like the cut of his jib, is the British way of saying it. So yeah, this Woodman for sure. Matt says, let's hope Edu can keep up this ruthless streak regarding the binning of players. K-Man says, okay, I'm excited. All the Twitter hype got to me. Just stay chill, K-Man. Just stay chill. Calm down. It's not confirmed yet. We still have to be patient. We still have to wait for some more really kind of reliable sources to get the info on this one. But we'll wait and see. Tom says, where is Pepe Rayner these days? An old keeper in the style as backup. Is he a Roma or something? I swear he's like in Italy. Lazio, he's at. He was at the other Roman club. Sorry, Roma fans. He's at Lazio at the moment. Yes, Vance says, if he works well, Real Madrid are going to buy him. And if he flops, this benefits no one. Not a good deal for me because we're developing other teams' players. I would rather see a Martinelli-like signing. Yes, Vance, let me put it in the other direction. Let me just flip that completely for you. This is a cover signing. This is a signing which covers Emile Smith-Rowe. We need that. If Emile Smith-Rowe doesn't work, or not necessarily doesn't work, but if Emile Smith-Rowe gets injured or needs to self-isolate, we then have cover on a young player that's hungry and wants to play. If it doesn't work out, we've not lost anything. We've not invested in a player. We've not committed to signing a player. So I think that you've got it the complete wrong way around, to be honest, Jess Vanford. I don't see it. It's not about developing another team's player because Ceballos, and look what Ceballos has contributed over the time here, formed that partnership with Xhaka that got us towards an FA Cup. Without the Ceballos-Xhaka partnership, we don't go towards that FA Cup because it wasn't happening with any other central midfield player at the time. So it's important that these deals happen because they help you in the short term and they can do what they need to do, which is to provide depth for the squad. Tom, what happened to Odriozola? Says Sarav. Yeah, he is dropped off a cliff. He's not been trusted by Zidane at all. He has not been trusted to do what he was doing at Sociedad whatsoever, which is a big shame because he was a big talent there, and I thought he was going to really kind of become something much better than he was, but he's not. He just hasn't cut it. Mostly agree with you, Tom. I'll just be worried, and you should there's always open to worry. You should never be 100% certain on a player, other than if his name's Szoboszlai. That is the only kind of one that you can be sure on. Lee Deaton says, "What's your opinion on McGinn from Villa? He's signed a new contract this season, so I don't think he's going anywhere, unfortunately. But he's a Premier League proven player now, done quite well for them. But I think there's probably better options." Personally. Right, we've been going for 41 odd minutes, so we're going to finish that off. Yeah, we will probably talk about this a lot more this afternoon at 5 o'clock on the Let's Talk Arsenal show, where we will reveal the winner of our members who will be getting the free ticket into the signed Vieira shirt draw. If you want to find out more about that, tune in at 5 o'clock today. UK time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. If you could drop a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. I appreciate me getting up this early in the morning to cover this news on my day off. So appreciate that. But it's been a pleasure to speak to you guys, as it always is. I will see you again very, very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.